Y'all doing McZ here again, guys. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What the hell? Did IMZ turn from freaking knives and guns into the freaking speed network or something? What the heck's going on with all the car repairs? Well, just another little car repair video for you. Today we're working on changing brake pads and rotors. So we're going to be taking off the rotors and changing out the brake pads as soon as they get here. Today we're working on a 2001 Subaru Forrester. I already removed the tire, so that's done. Got the car supported by jack stands, as you can see there. And yeah, so I mean, this is really an easy, once again, a pretty easy thing to do. Need a couple of tools. Recommend some sockets, a breaker bar. This is a breaker bar. It's basically a longer bar, able to put sockets on it. You want that because you're going to want that extra ability, extra leverage, because we're going to have to take this off completely. Which this here is the caliper. I'm going to take the caliper off in order to get the rotor off. And these tend to get pretty tight because they've been on there for, you know, who God knows how long, forever maybe, since the car was made. So 10 years of rust holding on, you're going to want some leverage in order to break those free. WD-40 is probably not a bad idea. I should get some of that and spray some of those bolts down. Get them start loosening it up. And you're also going to want a C-clamp. We won't need that yet. You're going to want a C-clamp. And if you don't know what that is, I'll show you here in a little bit. But basically that's going to be to depress the piston inside the brake caliper. So you can get the, because I want to replace the pads. You might not need to do this if you're just using the same brake pads, but I'm just going to go ahead and change everything out all at the same time. And sometimes you'll need it anyway. Basically, you just got to depress the caliper. There's a piston inside here. You have a brake pad here, you got a brake pad over here, and then there's a piston here which is run by hydraulic fluid. When you press your brake, it pumps hydraulic fluid or brake fluid, whatever, into the caliper, making the piston press against your brake pad, which presses against the rotor, which stops the car. So we're going to have a C-clamp in order to press that back in so we can get this back on. So a C-clamp is something you might want to have handy. I can't think of, I mean, I'm sure there's some way to jimmy it, but I got a C-clamp. They're not that expensive. Something you ought to have. So go out and get one if you ain't got one. All right, so I'm going to start taking this off. So we're going to start by putting a little WD-40 on these. I'm going to spray all the bolts that we're going to be taking off. Especially that one back there. Alright, I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to stay there. You might be in my way. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can work around you. Oh, another thing you're going to want to have is a clothes hanger. Wire clothes hanger, or a piece of wire of some sort. And we'll find out why here in a minute. Actually, that's going to be in my way. There we go. It might be right there. Okay. I mean, honestly, you should, since I use the WD-40, I should wait a few minutes and let it take effect. But I don't think that this is going to be all that tight. We will find out. Oopsie. See, you guys were in my way a little bit there. But I was right. It's not all that tight. There we go. And let me get the one at the bottom. So you keep an eye on what I'm doing. Let me know if I'm doing something wrong. Well, that's the next one we're going to take off, which is the bottom one. See if I can do it without punching the crap out of you guys this time. Couldn't find my socket without the damn flexible head. There we go. Oops. Hit you again. Sounds like the phone's ringing. I may need to go in there. Alright, I'm not sure where I stopped taping, so I'll just show you what I did. I took off the caliper. I hung the caliper from my spring here. The reason you want to hang this is because you don't want it just hanging down off your brake hose there, because it'll break your brake hose. So get like a clothes hanger, a piece of wire or something. Clothes hangers work the best, I've found, because they're strong but yet they're easily flexible. And just hang the whole thing off one of your springs or wherever you want. The springs I've always found to be the easiest place. And make sure you don't have any pressure on that hose. Make sure your hose isn't crimped or twisted weird. So as you can see, that's got just a nice bend in it, so that'll be fine to hang there until we're done. This is a brake caliper. There's the two pistons. The pistons I was talking about we're going to need the C-clamp for, because what we're going to need to do is put a C-clamp in the middle and depress those, because I'm going to put brand new pads on this. And what you got to do is basically force the brake fluid back up into the line using a C-clamp, and then you'll be able to put your brand new pads on. I'm starting to work my pad off right now. If all you were doing, you know, if our whole mission today was just to change the brake pads, we're pretty much done. As you can see, this has got plenty of brake left. I don't really need to replace these, but I'm going to. That's weird. This doesn't have a scraper on it. Maybe the other side has the scraper. Both sides should have a scraper though. Interesting. You take the other side off and see if it's got a scraper on it. But if you were just here to replace the brake pads, all you gotta do now is put the new brake pads on, put that back on, and shut it down. Tighten it up and you're done. I mean, that's how easy it is to change your brake pads. Of course, as soon as I said easy, I start running into a little bit of resistance. Isn't that always the way? Grab a screw. Alright, got my screwdriver. I wouldn't normally do this. I would usually wiggle it off by hand. But because I am going to be... Ooh, wow. Look at that. That's nasty. See those grooves? That's not good at all. Yeah. The reason I'm changing these brakes is because this whole assembly, every time my wife steps on her brakes, this is the car that she rides most of the time, she's getting a lot of shimmying in the front of her car. So every time she hits the brakes, the entire car shimmies. And if you look at that, this shows you how badly worn down that rotor is. Just which is why I bought new rotors and new pads, because I was afraid I was going to find something like this. Your brake pads should never look like that. They should look like this. See how it's smooth all the way across? But this one's all grooved and nasty. Yeah. Which means there's also a nasty groove on our rotor, which is why we're doing what we're doing today, which is replacing the rotor. Alright, so, ooh, look at that. I didn't know that sucker was down there. Alright, I'm going to have to take off that one, and this one up here. Then we can take off this. Maybe this is the bridge, what's referred to as a bridge. And we'll take this bridge off. I need a little WD-40 down there on that bottom one. That's it a bit. Those are the ones that are going to be sons of guns to change. I can't believe how bad that rotor is. I've never seen one that damaged. Hopefully that doesn't mean we have other issues. We'll see. Alright, so I'm just going to take off that top bolt and that bottom bolt, and then I'll get you back on here. I'm not really going to show you that part because you're really going to be in my way when I'm doing that. So I'm going to have to move you guys outside of here, and I'll show you the result when we're done. So I'm just taking off the top one and the bottom one. Well, that was surprisingly a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It's already loosened it up. It's ready to go. Oops, sorry fellas and ladies. I love that. That's what happens when you may work with cheap Chinese-made tools. Yeah, she's hand loose now anyway. Ah, here's our lovely neighbor, also known as the local drug dealer. Yeah, it's nice having a drug dealer across the street from you. At least I know who to take out first when she hits the fan. Alright, I'll get the other one. My half-incher, because I can fit it down in there. Already coming off. Probably already hand loose. Yep. Tell you guys, none of this stuff is hard. All this stuff, none of y'all can do. We'll take the bridge off. Now you see these carriers here, make sure you don't lose those, because sometimes your new brake pads will come with those, sometimes they won't. So I always hold on to them until I find out. My new brake pads aren't here yet. I'm expecting FedEx anytime now. But got that off. Now I'll show you how to take the rotor off. Let me go grab something real quick, and I'm going to grab a refreshment as well. Alrighty, now this is how we take the rotor off. Get yourself a nice little mallet. If you actually, you don't need to get, this is a plastic mallet, made in Japan. You don't really need something like this because we're going to be throwing the rotor away anyway. You can just use a hammer, but I prefer to use something like this. And basically just want to hammer on it, try and get it loose. Not getting enough resistance from this rubber hammer or plastic, so I'm going to grab a metal one. Alright folks, so the secret to this, if you take a look, we're on the hub. It's got a hole there and a hole down there. Those holes are for if it's really tight and it won't pop off, you can put in what they say an 8mm bolt and tighten it down and basically pop it off by using those two holes and bolts. But I couldn't find an 8mm bolt. I even went out to the store because I was going out to get a sandwich and stopped by, and I got what they told me was an 8mm bolt, but it wasn't an 8mm bolt either. They just didn't fit. But if you just spray it down, especially around here, with some WD-40 and let it sit, and then hammer on it like a hell, as you can see, she comes loose. But yeah, so the main secret I have for you is spray it with some WD-40, let it sit for a couple minutes, like 20 minutes or so, but soak it down good, especially around this area and around your bolt heads, or not the heads, but whatever. And then just rail on it with a hammer. And like I said, because I mean, if you want to keep this, if you're going to reuse that disc, you don't want to hammer on it with a metal hammer. Beat on it with a plastic hammer a little bit. But because I'm changing this, because it's screwed up. And look at the back of that. That's just totally screwed up. Because I'm changing this whole thing, I just beat the crap out of it with a metal hammer, and it finally popped off after I soaked it up with some WD-40. Now, I'm going to use some brake cleaner on this. Actually on everything. I'm just going to spray a liberal amount of brake cleaner all over here. I will tell you, if you care about your asphalt, don't do that. Put a drip pan underneath, because it's going to discolor and stain, and I think it's actually eating the asphalt. I don't really care that much. It's just now I'm going to have this big spot in my driveway. Whatever. So if that's something you really care about, put a drip pan underneath whatever the heck you're spraying with brake cleaner. Save you a lot of hassle. Maybe save your wife complaining at you. But yep, here we go. Now I just got to get the new ones. And guess what? While I was away getting a sandwich, FedEx showed up. So we got all of our new brakes and everything here. So I'm going to go get those. And I'll be right back. Ooh, and there's our brand new rotor. Slotted and drilled, baby. Slotted and drilled. Performance brakes. Alrighty. Well, we should spray these down apparently with brake cleaner. Because they come coated with some sort of anti-rusting agent on them. You just want to get that off so it doesn't interfere with your braking. Okie dokie. Now we reverse the process. I'm going to put everything back on, and I'll show you those steps as we go. First, we're going to put a bridge back on. Okay, we got to put this on. As far as like how you put this back on, it'll only fit back on one way. It's not going to go on like this. The only way it's possible for this to go on is just like this. And when you do that, you find that the bolt holes line up perfectly. So, my bolts down here. Pretty easy. I'm telling me they sent the wrong pads. Son of a bitch. Alright, turns out they didn't send me the wrong product. They just put the rear brake pads in with the front rotors instead of putting the front brake pads in with the front rotors. So these look a lot bigger and more likely like they're gonna fit. Let's find out. Shall we? Getting a little warm out here. There we go. Like a glove. Very nice. Alright, with the C-clamp, basically just going to stick it inside here and depress the piston. Oh shit. So as you can see, that one's depressed, that one's not. So now we gotta depress that one too. And once again, it's because our new pads are thicker than the pads we took off because they have no wear on them. There we go. All right, we should be ready to put this back on. There we go. There we go. Got it all back together. Maybe I should have painted my calipers or something. They just don't look as pretty as the rest of it. But everything's back hooked up. The only thing we gotta do now is test it. But first we gotta put them on the other ones. So I got 4 more to do. I don't figure I need to watch all those since you already seen me do it once. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Sire Monkey Z. Signing out. Peace.